Honourable Inemesit Clement Jimbo, born 12th of March 1983, is a Nigerian politician currently serving as the member of the House of Representatives for the Abak Etim Ekpo, Ika Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State. He assumed office in 2023 under the platform of the All Progressives Congress (APC). He is a native of Abak local government area in Akwa Ibom State. Honourable Jimbo holds a B.Sc in Quantity Surveyor from the University of Uyo. He is a certified Quantity Surveyor accredited by both the Royal Institute of Quantity Surveyors and the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors. In the 10th National Assembly, Honourable Jimbo serves as the Deputy Chairman of the House Committee on National Planning and Economic Development. His legislative contributions include sponsoring 3 bills aimed at establishing the Federal School of Medical Laboratory Science, Eka Midem, the National Commission for Technology Transfer and Acquisition, the Federal College of Agricultural Technology, Abak. He has also sponsored motions addressing infrastructure development, such as the reconstruction of the collapsed Obiobom Community Bridge. Additionally, he has advocated for amendments to the 2014 Pension Act and promoted mechanized agriculture to tackle food insecurity. Honourable Jimbo is recognized for his commitment to grassroots empowerment. Notable initiatives including donating a 15-ton tipper truck to the Tipper Leaders Association in Abak, financially empowering over 250 constituents for agricultural ventures, facilitating ICT training for youth and distributing laptops, installing 39 solar-powered street lights, grading rural roads in Etim Ekpo local government area. Prior to his current position, Honourable Jimbo contested for the presidency under the Social Democratic Party (SDP) in 2019. He played a significant role in the formation of the Presidential Aspirants Coming Together Pact coalition during that period. Hello, welcome to the one-on-one segment of the program NAS Unplugged. I am Mariam Zakari. Today, my guest is a member representing Abak Etim Ekpo, Ika Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State. Here at the National Assembly, he is also the Vice Chairman, National Planning and Economic Development. He is a member of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC). He is Honourable Jimbo Clement. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so we will start off. We'll start the program today by looking at current issues bedeviling our nation, and one of which is insecurity. We have terrorism, we have banditry, we have cattle rustling, and all of that in the northeast and as southwest as well. And we also have agitations in the southeast. So far, would you say that measures that the government has adopted, it's the way to go, or would you suggest another way to tackle this monster that has been rearing its head for quite a long time?
Okay, thank you very much. That is a whole lot of questions in one. I'll do my best. I'll try my best to disentangle them and see how to sufficiently give answers to your queries.
All right.
First, what the government is doing. Let's start on a positive note. Since the current administration came on board on the 29th of May 2023, we have witnessed policies and programs and even implementations of those policies and programs and what it has translated into. Let's begin with the very first, which is the removal of fuel subsidy. with that singular implementation of the policies of this current administration, that has given a boost to our refineries. Right now, we have the largest refinery in the entire West Africa, if it is not in the world. That is Dangote Refinery. Right now, we have sufficiency in the refining of petroleum products, which hitherto had never happened in this country, meaning the FX, the foreign exchange, that we normally lose as a result of importation of petroleum products, that loopholes have been sealed as a result of that. It equally means that with the implementation of that singular policy of government, it has created a whole lot of employment for Nigerians. Because if you visit the Dangote refinery, we have thousands of Nigerians working there. That singular policy equally has given birth to the revamping of Port Harcourt refinery. It has equally given birth to the revamping of Kaduna refinery. And right now, Warri refinery is in the offing. So that is the policy of government that has, to a very greater extent, helped to tackle the insecurities. When we talked about insecurity, we should not just look at it in one dimension, because food insecurity is an insecurity. So if you tackle food insecurity, you have tackled a greater percentage of the overall insecurity of a nation. Because like the saying goes, an hungry man is an angry man. What gives birth to this other tetra-headed monster called insecurity is because the person is hungry. Then that gives birth to anger. And that anger translates into so many other things. So with the tackling of food insecurity, it has drastically reduced to a very greater extent the rate at which insecurity would have engulfed this nation. So yes, the policies of this current administration has equally helped in doing that. Then let's look at it, the National Assembly, where I am a member by the grace of God, the 10th National Assembly. Is it in terms of the laws, the bills, the motions that we have moved in the House, passed in the House? Right now, we are reviewing the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to give credence to local government financial autonomy, which the Supreme Court of Nigeria has already given a nod to that. If this happens and there is a legal framework that makes it operational across the 774 local government areas, what will that translate to? A lot of development in the hinterland. That is number one. Coupled with the fact that we are equally reviewing the Constitution to reflect state policing. So therefore, the insecurity you are talking about will equally be greatly tackled at the state level. And also, to land on my thought, before you fire me the next question, the removal of fuel subsidy has equally translated into humongous amount of revenue to the state governors. So, the current policies of government is indeed the right step in the right direction.
You know, Honourable, a lot of Nigerians may not share in this your enthusiasm on the gains of the removal of subsidy, fuel subsidy. Yes, it means more money for state governments, but how has this impacted on the lives of people?
Okay, thank you very much. Let's get to the root of the problem. Because until a man knows where the problem begins, he may not know how to solve the problem. Nigeria as a nation, we gained independence in 1960. At independence, the population of Nigeria was about 45 million human beings, with a corresponding gross domestic product of about 4.2 billion US dollars. Fast forward to today, about 64, 65 years of independence, the population of Nigeria has increased to over 200 million.
And that again is debatable because there hasn't been census
Yes.
for so many years
Yes. With a corresponding gross domestic product increment of close to 500 billion US dollars. Don't forget the land space called Nigeria at independence till date is still within the same square kilometer. Now the question we will need to ask, does the increment in the gross domestic product vis-a-vis the increment in the population size of Nigeria reflected in the average prosperity of a Nigerian? The answer will be no. And the question will be why. When oil was discovered in Nigeria in 1956, in a place called Oloibiri in Bayelsa State, and the era of oil booms, where Nigeria was exporting crude in thousands and millions of barrels, at some point, a barrel rose to over $120 per barrel. Yeah. I equally recall that there was a particular minister of finance and coordinating minister of the economy, Kosoko Njoiwela, advised the state governors and government, say, look, we are having so much resources and revenue flock into this nation. It is important that we save for the rainy day. But they ignored. Many of the prosperity areas of this nation were frittered away to developed other nations, to the detriment of our nation. So what we are witnessing today is as a result of decayed irresponsibilities of government officials and irresponsibilities on the part of citizens by not holding government to account and government not responding to the responsibilities of their offices that has brought us to where we were about 2 years ago. So what the current administration is doing is to take the bullet, the hard decisions where previous administrations failed to take. For example, the removal of fuel subsidy. I recall in 2012, President Goodluck Jonathan attempted to remove it, but he was met with some stumbling block. But because he did not have the courage to face the monster head on, he chickened out, and the error continued and progressed until we got to a point where ways and means of this country rose to over 30 trillion naira. And the current administration has written that off.
Honourable, I am glad you brought that example. There was an attempt in 2012, in January precisely, to remove fuel subsidy. If that was allowed, as at that time, we would not be where we are today. Now, the amazing thing is, those people who were actually against the removal of fuel subsidy are the people in government now.
I agree.
And you are applauding. You're saying, you know, the past government or the past president didn't have enough courage, you know, to go through with what he wanted to do. This government has not done anything different. What just happened was at inauguration, he made the statement, subsidy has been removed. But for the previous administration, he was engaging people in dialogue, which means, and from what we got, you know, at the end of the day, that didn't go through because the whole process was flawed. But for this administration, there was no dialogue, there was no it was just, yes, we agree it wasn't part of the budget. We know that it wasn't included in the budget. But this administration, at the start of the administration, which was at the inauguration, even at Eagle Square, the president mentioned subsidy is gone, and that was it. Would you call that a bold step or being courageous?
I look at it this way. You see, intelligent people study history. They look at what has happened in the past. They mirror it to what is happening now. Then they can project into the future and predict to a greater certainty what is likely going to happen. Yes, the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, actually led a protest and protested against the removal of fuel subsidy.
So what changed?
As at that time. But what he has learned, if he had contemplated before the removal of fuel subsidy, the same roadblocks, bottleneck, obstacle, impediment that people constituted that inhibited President Goodluck Jonathan from removing the subsidy would have equally prevented him from doing so. So he took the bull by the horn without letting the iscart out of the bags and removed the subsidy immediately. And I look at it this way. When I talked about courage, a pregnant woman that is afraid of the labor room will never have a newborn baby. That is a fact. And a pregnant woman that doesn't want to go through the knife of a doctor through CS or the pains of labor will not have a baby. But when the baby is born, what happened to the pains? It's all gone all of a sudden. So that is exactly what the president has done. Yes, he was very, very mindful of the fact that the removal of fuel subsidy, meaning that the prices of petroleum product will rise. That was why we increased the minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira over 100%.
Would you agree?
To cushion the effect of the subsidy.
Would you agree with me that there was no fallback plan? You talked about increasing minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000 naira. Even with the increase of the minimum wage, a lot of Nigerians cannot afford basic amenities. They cannot, with that amount of money, raising it from 30 to 70, because with the removal, the prices of things skyrocketed. Are you talking about food? Is it transportation? Every aspect was affected at the end of the day. And yeah, moving it from 30,000 to 70 didn't quite make much impact in the lives of Nigerians.
That's to you.
No, I am saying if you go, we as journalists, this is part of the things we do on a daily basis. You feel the pulse of Nigerians, and I can tell you that we also go to the market. We're no different.
I agree with you.
Yes.
But
so
let us analyze it this passionately. When we say minimum wage, that is the least a civil servant at entry level gets. And what is the population of this category of civil servant? That is exactly how to analyze it. The people that are receiving 70,000 as minimum wage, which in my own estimation, nobody has received that. It is 71,000 and above, because of other allowances that are attached as your entry level into the civil service. So from level 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, obviously they are not earning 70,000. Level 10, 11, 12, 14, they are not earning 70,000. And what is the percentage population of these people in the civil service? They are the majority. So therefore, going into the market to buy the things that you said you are buying, do not also forget there is what is called reflective cost. Somebody that bought a bag of rice, maybe 50,000, now I think a bag of rice is about 55,000 naira, and nobody seems to talk about that. It has drastically reduced.
55,000,
Yes.
Honorable. I would advise after this interview, you ask again.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes,
All right.
I've seen it. So I think that is where we should equally dwell on. Things are gradually reducing because of the several interventions of government. Let me digress a little bit. Part of the motions that I moved in the House was to call the attention of the federal government to go into what is called mechanized farming. And what exacerbated that motion was when I looked at Nigeria. the 6 geopolitical zones, I said, why can't we also call it geo-agricultural zones? Could it be the reason why when we go into election year, every nooks and crannies of this nation is bubbling with politics? Everybody's alive, agitated. So if we also name it geo-agricultural zones, there is some level of mental shift that equally will be drawn to our people. So if we so named it, it will make sense. And as we speak, Nasarawa State had keyed into that motion. Right now, they are cultivating about 100 hectares of land for rice. They've already harvested about 2,000 hectares. So when we talked about food crisis and high prices of things, we intentionally, deliberately must go back to farm and till. And I am saying to you right now, as we speak, from the inception of this administration till date, they have pumped in a whole lot into agriculture. About a few months ago, the Ministry of Agriculture organized a census and arrived at a data that says about 43 million households in Nigeria are into households farming. That is the number. But the question I raised was that instead of us going into this households farming, can we mechanize it? And that is where the country is. In fact, one of the motions in the House today, in the plenary in the House today, was to provide tractors to all the 774 local government areas. And that motion has been referred to Committee on Appropriation. So things are seriously in the pipeline, which will eventually drive down the food insecurity in Nigeria.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, Nigeria, we have a lot of arable land, especially up here in the north. But what I'll still go back to is the issue of insecurity. We've talked about mechanized farming until the monster called insecurity is dealt with. I dare say that we would only be paying lip service to, the issue of agriculture here in Nigeria, and especially as oil is set to be drying up. From reports, we no longer produce as much as we used to in the past, and a lot of times governments, previous government and even this government, they've always talked about looking at agriculture as another form of sustaining the country. That was it after independence. Before oil was discovered, that was what sustained Nigeria. It would also be great, like you said, at the House, you people have talked about giving tractors to the 774 local government areas. So we would keep our fingers crossed and see how that pans out. Again, at plenary today, you people talked about rotational government. You talked about having rotational offices for the president and the vice president of the Republic of Nigeria among the 6 geopolitical zones. And I also know that at plenary, this was met also with strong resistance, even though it has been reintroduced to be debated upon. Now, tell Nigerians what will be, because I know at some point PDP wanted to do this. In fact, that was what caused the past president, talking about His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, his seat, because at that time the party was bent or fixed on rotational government. That didn't go through. But tell Nigerians what is different, because we've had it before at party level. Now that we're having it as a way of constitutional review at the floor of the House of Representatives, what is the benefit of this?
Okay, by the grace of God, I'm a member of the Constitutional Review Committee. At the committee level, we deliberated on this very bill before it was even listed for second reading, which was taken today. We look at Nigeria. So far, even though it is not in the Constitution, we are known and called 6 geopolitical zones. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the 6 geopolitical zones, so far, 4 geopolitical zones have had a shot at the presidency, leaving out the North Central, and the South East. And we said, look, what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. If we allowed the entire 6 geopolitical zones, each round of election, to go into election field and struggle for who becomes the president, maybe vice president, obviously, between you and I and even Nigerians, we know there are some certain zones in this nation that will never have a shot at the presidency. So since in the 10th Assembly, we look at every length and breadth of this country as our nation. My brother from the North Central is my brother. My brother from the Northeast is my brother. The North Central is my brother. The South is Southwest. They are my brothers. Like now, the president is from the Southwest. I know the Southwesterners, they have this sense of belonging. Oh, I have my brother that is there at Aso Rock. So if somebody from the Southeast is equally there, is he going to give them that sense of belonging that indeed my zone has been recognized? My brother is equally there. Even though as you are president, you are the president of Nigeria, not a president to your zone. So we look at all these, the merits and the demerits, and we say it would be nice. Let us carve a place in the Constitution of Nigeria for it to be enshrined. Of course, it was taken for second reading today, and debate, heated debate erupted. And by the grace of God, I was one of those that debated. I supported the bill, and I will still support the bill, but with a clause. Let us introduce a sunset clause.
What do you mean by sunset clause?
Yes, sunset clause. We can say, okay, let's allow it to run for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. After 50 years, it expires. We come back and review how we are faring. So after each of the zones has taken their shot at the presidency, it is over. Let the presidency of the nation goes to the best, because we cannot sacrifice the collective development of this nation via the hands of the best to the detriment or to a person in a particular zone because it was zoned for. Then there was equally an argument. Look, there is no zone in Nigeria that does not have the best. But trust me, even in the animal kingdom, is it well? All animals are equal, right? But some are more equal than others.
Yeah.
Yes, so that is my opinion. Let us introduce a sunset clause. Let it run for maybe 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Then let it be reviewed again, whether it is still tenable. So that was what transpired today.
But as a politician, Honorable, sincerely, do you see this scaling through? In a nation where, you know, just like, you know, politics is a game of number. It is not served, no one gives you power. You have to take. You're a politician, you know that well. Do you sincerely think that this would work?
Right now, to answer your question very easily, the president of this nation is from the southern part of Nigeria. Obviously, after his completion, 8 years, 2031, he's going to go back to the north.
Wow.
Now, the point is that it is not even in the Constitution. Rotational presidency is not in the Constitution of Nigeria.
Exactly.
But we as Nigerians, we have understood that look, if the southern Nigeria has taken a shot, let it also go to our brothers in the north. So right now we are extending our nets, our doors, instead of north, south, because we know if it comes to the south, there is a particular zone in the south that will equally always get it because of their numerical strength. The same thing in the north. So why not we open the doors to equally accommodate even the minority in our midst for them to have a sense of belonging? If you as a father, a mother, you always come back with goodies and you give it to your first son, or you just put it on the floor and say, whoever can struggle and first get it should enjoy it. That means you'll be depriving your last born. He or she will starve to death. Because the first son will always rush, or the first daughter, he has the strength, will get it first. But if you love all your children equally, what do you do as a responsible mother and father? You share it to them. Yes, I agree with you, power is not given. But with understanding, power can be given. With love, power can be given. With patriotism, power can be given. With love for one another, powers can be given.
Honourable, I'd like to take you up on something that you said. You said President Tinubu would leave the office 2031, and Nigerians would ask, I thought we were running a democracy where people would come out to vote. So if you are already saying that he will leave office 2031, which means he doesn't really need the vote of Nigerians, does he?
No, you are getting it not correctly. This is the point. Like I said earlier, intelligent people look behind to know what is happening today and to project into the future. This is the president that emerged as a candidate of the All Progressives Congress with less chance. He wasn't really given that chance. And with the level of obedient movement that crept into the electioneering process in 2023, he still emerged. Up to the Supreme Court level, he was challenged, and he still stood his ground. Now, he was not in government. Is it now that he is in government that somebody somewhere will come and kick him out, even you reason now? Or is it the influx of even sitting governors that are flocking into the party that will come and kick him out? Or is it even the PDP that cannot even organize a valid primaries or recognized by INEC, that will file a candidate that will upturn his election, or that will even recruit him out of the ring?
Is that
it's practically impossible. I'm talking
practically
with all amount of certainty that indeed he's going to stand election and he will win because of the indices on ground.
But again, don't forget that Nigerians will decide when the time comes. Anyway, let's look at your constituent. It's been 2 years now. It's going to be 2 years in June. What would you say has been your achievement in your constituency so far? What have you done? What would people from your constituency say you have done for them in the last 2 years?
Okay, thank you very much. Let's bring it home now. I was inaugurated on the 13th of June 2023. On the 15th of June, I moved my first motion. And that was very rare for a first-timer. Barely 48 hours, you were able to navigate the House rule and move your first motion. And what was that motion? That motion was to call the attention of the federal government to a collapsed bridge in my community.
Okay.
And as a result of that motion, the resolution of the House directed the relevant agencies to intervene. As we speak, that bridge has been reconstructed. Barely 48 hours. Then the second motion, via the instrumentality of petition in the House, was to call the attention of federal government to a land that the Nigerian army acquired in my community since 1972 without adequate compensation. As we speak, federal government has engaged in a joint valuation of that community for them to be paid as a result of my intervention. Then that followed with hundreds of other motions, petitions, countless. Is it bills? The bill for the establishment of the Commission on Technology Transfer is my motion. And let me use 1 minute to dwell on the import of that bill.
Yeah.
If you look at Nigeria, Bureau of Statistics says that we are currently using over 200 million handsets. And like we referenced the population of Nigeria, over 200 million. And when we look at Africa, when they say Nigeria is the giant of Africa, yes, we are the giant, not in terms of land mass, but in terms of population. And when other developed nations produce a product and they tag it for Africa, they are actually referring to Nigeria because we have the market. We have the most useful population. So I look at it. In the olden days, before the advent of fiat money as paper money, what did we use as our exchange of goods and services. It was trade by barter. You have yam, I have beans, I need yam. You exchange your yam with my beans, and both of us have yam and beans. Sure. So I look at it, Nigeria is blessed. Across the length and breadth of this nation, we are blessed with lithium. And lithium is one of the active ingredients that is used in the manufacture of battery that every single handset in Nigeria uses, including even the cameras, the iPad, the solar panels, everything basically uses battery. I said, okay, since we do not have the active technology to produce the battery here, can we leverage our population to attract the technology into Nigeria? So that, for example, let me use a country like China. We'll sit down there and say they want to produce 1 billion copy of handset, and they want to ship it to Nigeria for us to consume. We'll say it's a fantastic idea, but you are going to do that without battery. You will intentionally, deliberately give us the technology for us to produce the battery here because we have the raw materials. Recently, the president commissioned the largest lithium mining company in Nasarawa State here. So if that becomes an operational instrument, the legal framework, they produce 1 billion copy of the handset without battery. We produce 1 billion copy of the battery here. We sell it to them maybe $2. They sell it to us maybe $5. They will trade by barter. We buy it to them from them. They buy it from us. As a result of that, we have added value to our gross domestic products. We've increased our employment, and technology is transferred to us. So that is the import of that bill. And I'm glad to let you know it has scaled through first reading, second reading, and public hearing. Right now, we are waiting for the Committee of Science and Technology in the House to tender their report for it to be listed for other reading and other consideration. Then there is a bill for the establishment of Federal College of Medical Science Laboratory. It has scaled through third reading in the House and passed. And recently there's another one.
Assent.
Sorry?
Awaiting assent?
Yes, it has been passed in the House, waiting concurrent with the Senate for it to be passed. Then countless motions, to the best of my knowledge, we've sourced for employment for over 12 constituents of mine, whether in the Nigeria Army, Nigeria Police, Navy, Civil Defense, even Civil Service. All of them are working. Then in terms of infrastructure, so far we have built a town hall meeting, completed, handed over to the community. We've equally built a block of 6 classrooms in 3 locations, one in Abak, one in Ika, and one in Etim Ekpo, comprising the 3 local government areas that I superintend. We've equally constructed a solar-powered borehole. Right now, people are fetching water day and night. In fact, some people have even established a car washing company by the water side because the water rushed there 24 hours via instrumentality of the sun. Then we've trained countless number in various entrepreneurial skills, and with empowerment, we've graded close to about 50 kilometers of road. We've done free medical care, we've done bursary scholarship, and we've registered JAM to people free of charge. Scholarship, they are countless. Is it market grant to women? God knows how many. I'm not even talking about personal interventions, school fees, medical bills, this, that. Because we are the most accessed government officials in Nigeria. Then we've done cars, we've done motorcycles, we've done a sewing machine, we've done grinding machine. Those things are in their numbers. God has helped us.
Well, I'm afraid that's about the time allotted for this interview segment. I must thank you very much. Honourable Jimbo Clement, he's representing Abak, Etim Ekpo, and Ika Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State.
Correct.
Thank you for speaking with us today.
It's an honor. Thank you very much.
And that's it on the interview segment. Is back now to the studios for the rest of the program.
The bill in question, obviously, is set to cure an age-long injustice in our land, especially the minority zones in the region, in Nigeria, which if the presidency of this nation and the vice presidency of this nation is allowed to be struggled in terms of election, they will not have a chance of getting to that climax.